Welcome back to Terror and Urban Myths. We really appreciate the support, all the likes and subscriptions. And hey, if you're enjoying the show, why not tell a friend about terror and urban myths?
Tonight, we're going to be talking about something that I think hits close to home for a lot of people. Stalking. But not just any kind of stalking. Stalking that starts after a really brief encounter.
Right.
You might think that it takes time for someone to become obsessed with another person, but the stories we're looking at tonight really show how quickly things can turn dark.
It's such a scary thought, isn't it? Even just a casual meeting, like bumping into someone at the store or something,
Right.
could be the start of something really scary.
Yeah.
What I find interesting, is that a lot of these stories, they start in places you'd think would be safe.
Right.
We're talking about classmates, people you meet at the park, even just a friendly neighbor.
It's like the person you suspect. Right.
Exactly.
I mean, one story that really stuck with me was about this college soccer player.
And she was chatting with this guy from the athletics department in the library. And he brings her candy and it just seems harmless on the surface.
Yeah.
But she started to wonder later on if being open about her plans, like saying she wouldn't be playing soccer next semester.
Oh, wow.
Was like a mistake.
Oh.
It's almost like she unintentionally gave him information, that he could use for this unhealthy fixation.
That's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to think that small talk or just being polite is harmless, right? But for someone who maybe has a tendency to stalk, those little bits of information, those seemingly innocent conversations, they can use that, to feed that obsession.
Yeah. So it's almost like you can't be too careful, even in the most mundane interactions, And speaking of information, it seems like social media plays a huge role in a lot of these stories.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost like a stalker's dream come true.
Oh, totally.
Because it gives them access to your location, your routines, your emotional state, even...
It's like having a window into your life 24/7, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading this one story where the stalker was using Instagram locations to track his victim's movements. And in another story, they made a fake Facebook profile to lure this law student's sister to a bad part of town. It's crazy. These platforms that are supposed to connect us, they can be used for such bad things.
Yeah.
To manipulate, to control.
And it's not just about gathering information, right? It's about using that information to make it seem like they have this intimacy with their victim.
Yes. To create this fake connection that's just not real.
Yeah.
Like in that story where the stalker was pretending to be the victim's friend on Facebook, I mean, it makes you realize how easy it is to manipulate people online,
It is really scary to think that someone could be watching you, learning your habits, planning their moves, all based on your online activity. And what's even scarier is that a lot of victims are afraid to speak up.
Right.
They feel paralyzed by fear.
Absolutely.
We saw that in a couple of these stories, right? Like the student who couldn't even tell their parents about being stalked, or the woman who heard her neighbor being attacked when she was too afraid to step in.
Those stories, they're heartbreaking.
Yeah.
They really highlight what victims go through.
Right.
The emotional burden, feeling alone and trapped. I think it shows just how much more awareness and support is needed, so that victims feel like they can actually ask for help without being judged or feeling ashamed.
Yeah. It's like they're living in a nightmare and they can't wake up.
I know.
That story about the woman who almost had a home invasion, that one really got to me.
Oh, yeah.
Just imagine, the intruders see her looking out the window and they take off running. What if she hadn't been looking,
It's terrifying to think about. It really shows how quickly things can escalate and how sometimes it's just pure luck that prevents something truly horrible from happening.
Right. You think about how vulnerable we all are in our own homes.
Yeah.
Something we take for granted.
You don't think about it until something like that happens,
Yeah. And then there's that story of the woman who was lured to that remote campsite, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like you could see how he was manipulating and controlling her every step of the way.
Right.
It started with these little requests that seemed harmless, but he was slowly cutting her off from everyone who cared about her. It's scary how someone can be pulled into that kind of danger without even realizing it's happening.
It's like they're being groomed almost.
Yeah.
And it starts so subtly. These small compromises that they make, they don't realize that it's eating away at their sense of control.
Yeah.
And then when it explodes, like in that campsite story, there's this attempt to act like everything is normal.
Right.
I remember they said that after he attacked her, he made her order him pancakes.
Oh my gosh, that's so creepy.
It's like they want to pretend everything is fine, even after doing something horrific.
It's like a glimpse into the mind of someone truly disturbed.
Yeah. It reminds you that these aren't just stories. This is real life for someone. But even with all these scary stories,
Right.
there are moments of hope, too. Times that remind us we aren't powerless against this.
Yeah, that story of the woman trapped on the bus, right?
Yes.
With the other passenger stepping in to protect her. That was powerful.
It really shows how important it is for people to step in and help.
Yeah.
That passenger was so brave to challenge the stalker. And, that might have saved her from being hurt even worse.
Right. It makes you realize that we all have a responsibility to look out for each other.
Yeah.
And that even a small act can make a huge difference.
Totally. It gives you hope,
It does. But even when a stalker is stopped, the trauma from what happened can last a long time.
Oh, absolutely. We saw that in that woman who was attacked at the campsite, right?
Uh-huh.
She talked about how she was always afraid, always looking over her shoulder.
Yeah.
The anxiety, the fear. It's clear that stalking can leave deep scars that take a long time to heal.
It's a reminder that we need to do more than just talk about this problem. We need to create a world where victims feel safe coming forward, where they're believed, and where we're all doing what we can to stop it from happening in the first place.
I couldn't agree more. It's on all of us, to be more aware and to do what we can to make our communities safer, both online and in person. It really makes you think about the lasting impact all this has on the victims, even after the stalking's over.
It's like a violation that goes way beyond physical boundaries, right?
Yeah.
You feel unsafe, insecure. It's like an attack on who you are.
Exactly. And one thing I've noticed is how stalkers will latch on to the smallest things, things that seem totally insignificant,
Right.
and they twist it around to justify their behavior. It's messed up.
It is, like in that story with the soccer player. He fixated on her saying she didn't want another gap hour, something totally random, but he took it as a personal rejection.
Yeah, like she was pushing him away or something.
Yeah, like they're searching for any little thing to validate this obsession, this need to control someone else's life. And social media just makes it that much easier.
Oh, for sure. Social media can be a stalker's playground, All those platforms that are supposed to connect people
Right.
can easily be turned into tools for surveillance. We saw that in a couple of the stories, right? One stalker used Instagram locations to track his victim.
Yeah, and another one made that fake Facebook profile to trick the law student's sister.
It's scary to think about how easily the information we put online can be used against us.
It's like they create this whole fake reality in their heads, one where they have this special connection with the victim, even though it's not real at all.
Exactly, and that manipulation can escalate so quickly.
It's true. Stalking is rarely just a one-time thing.
No, it usually gets worse over time.
Right.
The more obsessed the stalker becomes, the bolder they get. It could start with watching someone, maybe some unwanted calls or messages,
Right.
and then it escalates to threats, damaging property, even physical violence.
It's terrifying how fast it can spiral out of control. And sometimes something as simple as rejecting their advances can set them off.
That's right. Stalkers don't handle rejection very well. They see it as a threat.
Yeah.
And they might react in unpredictable, dangerous ways.
It's a reminder that we can't let our guard down. You got to trust your instincts. And if something feels off,
You gotta take action,
yeah, even if it seems like a small thing, like an unwanted gift or someone constantly trying to get in touch.
Don't ignore it. It's important to document everything, keep track of the dates and times,
Right.
specific behaviors, any witnesses. That kind of information could be crucial later on if you need legal protection.
And it's important to remember that you don't have to go through this alone.
Absolutely not. There are so many resources out there, people who understand what you're going through and can help. Support hotlines, victim advocacy groups, even the police. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah. And beyond the legal stuff, there are things victims can do to protect themselves. Changing up your routines, making your home more secure, telling people you trust what's going on. Every little bit helps.
It's about taking back control.
Exactly.
And more than anything, remembering that you deserve to feel safe and you don't have to face this alone. There's support out there, people who can help you get through this.
It's been pretty intense tonight.
Yeah.
But it's important to talk about it, right?
I think so.
Stalking can be such an isolating experience.
Absolutely.
And victims often feel like it's their fault.
Yeah, like they did something to deserve it.
Or that they're overreacting.
Right, and that's part of what makes stalking so insidious. You know, it really messes with your sense of self-worth. Like, am I crazy? Stalkers are really good at manipulating people, you know, using gaslighting and stuff to make you doubt what you see and hear.
Oh, yeah, they'll deny everything.
Right, or downplay it like it's no big deal.
Or even blame the victim.
Exactly.
Saying they provoked it somehow.
It's like they turn it all around on you, and then you start to question your own reality.
Right. So it's like this double violation, right?
Yeah.
First the stalking, and then this mind game that makes it that much harder to ask for help.
Exactly. And that's why we need to change how we talk about this. Victims need to feel like they can speak up and be believed and supported. We have to challenge those ideas that make victims stay silent, make them feel ashamed.
It's not their fault.
No, not at all. It's the stalker who's responsible. And it's a crime, you know?
It is.
There are laws against it. You can get a restraining order, press charges.
Right. Even criminal prosecution sometimes.
It's important to know that you have options. Legal action can be really effective in some cases, but it's not always the best solution.
Right. It depends on the situation, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Every case is different, and victims need to really think about what's best for them.
Right. And there are organizations that can help with that.
Yes, definitely. Reach out to law enforcement or to a victim advocacy group.
There are people who can walk you through it, help you figure out the best way to move forward. And it's not just about the legal stuff, right? There are practical things victims can do to stay safe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Documenting everything that happens, changing your routines, beefing up your security, letting people know what's going on. It all helps.
Yeah. It's about taking back control.
Yeah. You don't have to be a victim.
And knowing that there are people who care, who want to help.
Exactly. You're not alone in this.
Let's heard some tough stories tonight.
Yeah.
Stories that show just how dark things can get.
Yeah. But I hope that by talking about this, we can help people understand what stalking really is.
Right.
And how serious it is.
That it's not okay.
No, it's not. And that we all need to do our part to prevent it and to support victims.
I think that's the most important message.
Thanks for joining us for this important conversation on terror and urban myths. If you or someone you know is being stalked, remember, there is help out there. Reach out to someone you trust, a friend, a family member, or one of the many organizations dedicated to supporting victims. And if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.